Hey you guys, welcome to Paper Clipping. I'm your host Noelle Hyman. A majority of my scrapbook pages these days have ephemera on them, and I love flipping through my album and seeing the ephemera and seeing all this stuff from our lives and having it help me tell our stories. I have heard from some people though who would like to incorporate ephemera into their pages but find it problematic. So usually because it's hard to fit it in with the design. Maybe it looks just like it's kind of plopped on the page or it doesn't fit with your style. Sometimes it's just problematic in the way that you want to make it work in the page but still save it as a memorabilia piece. So today I'm going to share with you a few different tricky types of ephemera, and we're going to make some pages with them, and I'll share some different ways to fit your ephemera into your design so you can still have a great scrapbooking page that's designed well but also make everything fit, and will solve some of those problems. Let's get started for today's episode of Paper Clipping. T-shirts are one type of ephemera that can be really troublesome because a lot of times they have sentimental value to us, but they're just t-shirts, and when they get old or too small, we feel guilty about throwing them away, but they're in the way and we don't really want to keep them either. Well, this is a t-shirt from my son's first concert. This is the band, and it's definitely sentimental, and didn't want to throw it out. It's got a cool graphic design, and so that's what gave me the idea of putting it on a layout. And I think you could do this for all kinds of t-shirts. And so I just found a piece of cardstock to back it with. It's hand cut. I just hand cut it really quickly when I got the idea, and I've been holding on to it, and I'm not going to worry about the fact that it's imperfect. That's one of the things I enjoy about ephemera are the imperfect parts of it and learning to, or finding ways to work with it. So we're going to leave the ragged edges as is, and we're going to mount it onto this cardstock. To make sure it stays down really nicely and evenly and seem like it's part of the background, I'm going to use a gel medium. This is a matte medium. That way, if some of the medium shows through out of the edges, that'll be fine because it is completely invisible. And gel mediums are awesome for attaching things because that's what artists use as glue for any kind of collage work or things like that. So I'm going to start attaching or adding gel medium with this brush to my entire back of my t-shirt. All right, so I got this completely covered now with my gel medium, and I'm pulling out my paper, and I'm going to add this on, and I can see some of it shows through the thin gray t-shirt part. And I think that'll dry up and go away. We'll see. You never know. So let's go ahead, and it looks like I got some pink stuff on there, so I'll try to wipe that away too. That's from my mat underneath. All right, so I'm gonna rub this in, and just realized I need a brayer. I probably will do okay without a brayer, actually. This is laying down real nicely. If you have a brayer, pull it out, but it seems to be working okay for me. So I'm rubbing it in, and then I'm going to put a little more under here because that's not sticking too super well. And then we'll let it dry, and we'll see how it looks when it's dried. I've let this dry, and a lot of the unevenness in the gray has gone away, but you can still see it down in here. I actually think it looks really good, so I like it. But I wanted to let you know in case it's really important to you not to have some of that unevenness. It might happen. But what I love about the gel medium is the t-shirt becomes a part of that background paper, and the paper is still flexible. I've got all that adhesive under there, and any other glue would be cracking and giving me problems, but this is nice and flexible. So now I want to add my detailing, and I've got this empty space right here, and that's a great place to put a photo, a title, and journaling. And I've got these lines here, this line from the owl that would make a great way to anchor everything down and also lead your eye to the focal point. So I've cut this scrap of paper into a banner, and I added a photo, a title, and some embellishments, and it's good to go. We can't always control when our family members are going to write something fabulous on a piece of scratch paper or whatever they want to write it on. A lot of times we're not there to say, hey, do it on this archival quality piece of paper with this archival pen. A lot of times it's just on scratch paper, and that's the case with this piece right here. My son Aiden has a hero. It's Leonardo da Vinci, and he had drawn this flying machine that I guess Leonardo da Vinci had made himself. And I thought it was a great drawing, and I think it's a good story because it has so much to do with Aiden's talents and skills and interests. And so I found some pictures that go along with that story. Here he has made a machine gun out of paper, and he just really loves inventing things and building things and three-dimensional stuff. So he feels this affinity toward Leonardo da Vinci. So one of the problems with ephemera is it feels like it gets just kind of stuck down on the page and it doesn't really fit nicely into the design. There's ways to make your ephemera fit into the design, even if it's been spilled on with something pink and torn up like this. And we're going to build a structure with these 3 pieces. So you got to think in terms of really making a design with your funky piece of ephemera. I'm going to use this line here to draw your eye over to the focal point, which is right there. And then I'm going to have the second photo going this way so that this torn line here will bring you right over to Aiden. And I think I'm going to try to have him stretch across the 12 by 12 page so that this is the edge of the page and this is the edge of the page. And that way it feels like it's one whole part of the page. If I had a border, I'm not sure, but it might make it look a little too formal for something ragged like this. But if it goes like this, everything feels like it flows, it's connected. And I've formed a shape. This is what will make the underlying structure or the foundation of the layout. I have this great die cut file from Studio Calico that I cut out on my new Cameo silhouette. And I think it's perfect to unite the 2 blues together. So we've got the dark blue, the light blue, and the dark blue again, and that'll be part of the background. And I also found this great schematic themed paper from Heidi Swapp. It's absolutely perfect for the story because of all the diagramming, and it says drawn by and journal, Leonardo da Vinci was a journaler. And so I think this will be great for the background to bring these all together. The other key to making sure your ephemera fits onto the page and as part of the design and looks like it all works nicely the way a normal page would be then to now tack it down, pin it down with your embellishments and just make it part of the design. So let's move some of that glue that was there. So I'm going to add these little banner pieces. So like this in between the 2 photos. So it all overlaps, all 3 pieces there. And I'm going to take this little, what is this called? This like flare, that's what it is. And add that on top of that. And I'll use some kind of a twine or string to connect those. And then I want to make a little embellishment cluster over here. So I'm going to make a visual triangle. And now this will overlap the photo with the outside of the page, and I'll add this little star button right there, and then I'm going to add one more piece up here, and I can just stick that one down right in there. And so you can see that now it feels like it's all coming together and it's all a part of the page, and it doesn't look like I've just plopped on this piece of ephemera that sticks out. I decided to add a second page, and that's this piece right here. It's 6 by 12. It'll go in a 6 by 12 page protector, and that'll give me a little more room to tell the story here. And I took a lot of the colors and bits and pieces from that side of the page, and I just added it here in little bits of collage areas. And I also took a piece of this and cut it out and added it into this section right here. And so that way everything goes well together, flows nicely. For this story about my son's 1 year of playing violin, I have a program here, which I'll deal with in a minute. I'm going to make this a 2-page spread. And then I've got this candy wrapper. He had won this candy bar as at the concert. And so I had cut away just the front of the wrapper, and I want to make it part of this page. And so because it's really close to the size of the photo, I think it'd be a great idea to have it go across. So it's like a horizontal line that I've got here. And I'll just put it right about there. And then to make it look finished, because right now it doesn't, it looks just kind of like I stuck it there because I have it and I have to, but that's not the case. I'm going to actually make it part of a design. And so I decided to make these little edges, and these are made from Grunge board. I put them through my embosser and just embossed them so they've got some dimensionality to them. And I've sprayed them and inked them so they fit in with the coloring of the layout. And now all I have to do is cut off this little excess here, and that looks like a finished part of the page. How about we go like that? And it looks much more finished and much more a part of the layout, and it looks decorative instead of just this thing that I had to include. And then to link it together so it has an even more of a finished look, I'm going to add this piece of flare. It's a star to go along with the star theme of the page, and I'll just stick it on right here. This over here is the second part of my page. It's page 1 or page 2. And this is the program, and a lot of times we want to be able to open up our programs and see the inside, but then that leaves us a really boring page and it doesn't really fit in with the rest of the page and it's not pretty. And so what I like to do is add some embellishments to the inside so I can adhere the inside down and have some embellishments peeking out of the tops and the sides so that there's still embellishments there, and I use the same embellishments or the same types of products from the other side of the page. And so it still feels like this is part of a regular scrapbook page, the kind that we're used to. And it's still got some visual interest to it. And so because these are poking out from the top, there's still some of that scrapbook look to it, like this, but it doesn't interfere with being able to open that up. And last piece I want to add here is this metal paper clip. I think these are great. And so this is fun because it kind of lets you know where to open up the page right there. So there's some layering going on there too. Here's a trick you can do with your page protector so that you can still open up your programs and see the insides without pulling the entire page out of the page protector. I have cut around the outside of my program all the way around to here. This part is still intact. And then I take my clip and I clip it to the outside so that it's not inside the page protector. So anybody can come along and lift up that clip and open it up. But everything else from here on in is underneath that page protector. Hopefully today's episode gave you some ideas for how you can fit more of your ephemera and more of your story into your pages. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time, have fun paper clipping.